Hello everyone and welcome to our first ever session in it. I and my team are very excited to introduce GNU Linux Users Club. I'm sure many of you are actually wondering what GUC really is. GUC is a group for people interested in Linux and DevOps. If you're interested in shell scripting or use a Linux distro as your main operating system, then you're already a member of our club. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the brains behind this operation. Our faculty mentor, Mr. Yatendra Sahu, who is also our DA professor. He'll be guiding us in our journey to make GUC a successful club at IIIT Bhopal. Next up are the club secretaries, me, Tanav Singh Bajaj, Umang Bhalla, Kushagra Kaushal, Shubham Vyas, and Gaurav Gupta. We have installed and used over 30 different Linux distros amongst us and have been troubleshooting problems for our batch and a few students of other colleges in our open to public Discord server, Dev Beta. Link will be in the chat box below. Also, I would like to introduce our core team, Sarthak Batham, Prem Kharyar, Narun Yadav, and Karthik Pant, who will be helping out everyone in our Discord server and conducting webinars with us. Link to this server will be shared at the end along with the membership form. We have a lot of fun activities and workshops planned for everyone, which will tentatively begin once the juniors join in. Now, I'd like to invite Kushagra to tell us what the club objectives are and why we started this club.
Thanks, Tanav. Evening, everyone. I am Kushagra, one of the club secretaries, and I would like to give you a brief overview of the objectives that we have in mind and what we are going to cover under this club. Don't worry if you don't get some of these now, because it will also be explained in a little more detail later in this very session, just to make sure you all know what you all are getting yourself into, because a membership form will be rolled out just after the session. So if you are interested, try to follow us till the end. So our first objective is to make people aware of the profits of Linux as an operating system. It is self-explanatory, but it just means that we will help you to differentiate between Windows and Linux or Unix-based operating systems. Our second objective is to guide people in path of DevOps. This topic is fairly large, so I'll leave it to Umang Bhalla, who will explain it to you later. Next is to help set up development environments on Linux. This is where you will all feel why Linux is more convenient than Windows, because almost all of us must have suffered getting MinGW or JRE set up for the first time and banging your head around those environment variables. All right, now moving on to the fourth objective, to troubleshoot common problems faced by new Linux users. When you have installed Linux on your PC, you might run into some issues from time to time. We'll be there to help you. Now, the fifth objective is to organize webinars and provide platforms to discuss ideas related to this topic. Sixth objective is to get people aware about GNU, Free Software Foundation FOSS, and open source. Okay, so this and the seventh objective are closely related, which is to help students use GitHub at an industry level. And both of these will be explained by Gaurav Gupta later. And our last objective is to learn and get people aware of software licensing. And this is also a fairly complex topic, so I leave this to Tanav, who will debrief you about this after some time. And now a brief discussion about what is Linux. Linux is a Unix-like operating system. Some of you might not have heard of Unix, but to simplify, macOS is a Unix-compliant operating system. Both macOS and Linux are sort of cousins. Their immediate parents are not same, but they still are closely related. Almost 90% commands and the working is same. So if you are a macOS user, you won't face any major difficulty in learning Linux. Maybe installation, but not in learning. But if you are a Windows user, then there will be a learning curve for you. Linux is only the kernel. Everything else is GNU. That's why it is sometimes called GNU Linux. And also our club name, GUC, GNU Linux Users Club. All right, so now let's see where we can find Linux in today's world, because that's what we are all more interested into. So on number one, we have cloud platforms. All of you who have completed or are currently doing 30 days of cloud challenge must have encountered Linux or Debian somewhere. The console that they offer is actually Linux-based terminal using Debian. Nano or Vim, these are also the default text editors of Linux. Secondly, we have Android. So Android is actually a modified version of Linux kernel and with some free softwares, most probably from the GNU. If you have ever rooted your Android smartphone, you must have come around with root directories and sudo command or su command. These all are actually Unix-based terminologies. Smart TVs and devices like Alexa, Google Home, Tizen OS, which used to be very popular among TVs, these all are also Linux-based. Tesla cars, the infamous Tesla electric cars also uses a Linux-based operating system and obviously the GNU softwares. Sophia, Hansen's humanoid robot Sophia also use Linux. In fact, the only operating system supported in it is Ubuntu. And at last, NASA Perseverance Mars rovers. Previously, they used WinRiver's VSWorks operating system, which is a proprietary software, but now they have also switched to Linux. The basic point of telling you all this is to make you aware about the flexibility, range, and freedom that Linux has to offer. Even small devices like Raspberry Pi to electrical cars to Mars rovers, Linux can be used everywhere. And now forward, coming are some slides which will show you how customizable and flexible Linux actually is. So in this slide, in the top right corner, you can see that's exactly a look-alike of Mac OS, but it is actually Arch Linux. And in the bottom left, you can see it's a perfect look-alike of Windows 11, but that's also actually a Linux-based operating system, which is Pop OS. So as you can see, Linux can be modified and customized to anything. Forward are some more slides of how Linux can be. So yes. And now let's see some different datas that we can find, which can help understand us how Linux can be. So here on the right side, you can see the data of OS market share. Around 87% of PC in this world runs on Windows, 9.5% of Mac OS, and only 2% of Linux. Chrome OS and BSD are also there, but their impact is very minor. And on the left side, you can see the stats of preferred OS by developers around the globe. Here, Linux is almost on 50%. It's even more preferred than Mac OS. And according to me, that's a quite interesting data that can be ignored. If 50% of world developers are considering Linux as their main operating system, then you should also give it a try, I think. Of course, Windows is still on higher rank here also, but that's only because people are more comfortable with Windows than Linux. Because almost every PC comes pre-installed with Windows, so they don't even bother to try a different operating system. But we want you to give it a shot. You don't have anything to lose. You will have both Linux and Windows installed on your system. You can put to anyone as per your wish. Other than I said a lot of words, you may not have understood, so I invite the other club secretaries to explain some of it. So handing over to Gaurav. Thank you.
Thanks, Kushag. Hello, everyone. I am Gaurav Gupta. I am here to explain you about Git, GitHub, and open source. What is Git, GitHub? Let's understand the version control first. Basically, version control refers to the practice of tracking and managing changes to software code. And the version control system refers to the software tools that assist software teams in managing changes to source code over time. They are especially used for the DevOps teams since they help them to reduce development time and increase successful deployment. In layman terms, version control means that if you rip off the project or accidentally delete files, you can quickly recover them and overhead is negligible. What is Git? Git is a distributed version control framework that is free and open source. Linus Torvald, the developer of Linux operating system kernel, created in 2005. Git is used for the project collaboration and history exploration. Git provides all the benefits of distributed version system that I have discussed in previous section. What exactly is GitHub? GitHub is an open source platform built on the top of Git that allows a developer to manage and communicate their project with the rest of the globe. You or someone else in the developer community may contribute to open source software projects using GitHub. That's like social media for developers, where you can interact with like-minded devs and work on a meaningful project collectively. What is open source? The term open source refers to the something people can modify and share because its design is publicly accessible. Open source software is a software with source code that anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance. Example, Linux and Mozilla Firefox, in which source code is available. Why do you prefer using it? Community. Open source software often inspires a community of users and developers to form around it. The community isn't just a fan base, rather, it is the people who produce, test, use, promote, and ultimately affect the software they love. Control. People prefer it because they have more control over the software as they can examine the code to make sure it is not doing anything they don't want to do it, and they can change parts of it don't like. Security. Because so many programmers can work on a piece of open source software without asking for permission from original authors, they can fix, update, and upgrade open source software more quickly than they can proprietary software. Tanav will now give an overview of software licensing. Over to you, Tanav.
Thanks, Gaurav. Well, I'm sure everyone who has used GitHub has seen a section where it shows choose a license. And most of you have neglected it or just chosen one at random. This is probably the only part in our presentation that deals with the non-tech side of things, but is as important for us. I know this kind of things is for lawyers and stuff, but we still need to know what software we can use and where so that we don't get sued. And this also explains who has permissions to maintain, edit, and use the code. Most big companies have various licenses for various products or parts of product. A software license provides legally binding definitions for distribution and use of the software, like end user rights such as installation, warranties, and liabilities are often spelled out in the software license. This also includes protection of the developer's intellectual property. Most software falls under one of two broad categories that have distinct differences under the copyright law. Number one, proprietary software, which is also referred to as software. Number two is free and open source software, also known as FOSS. There are various subcategories, and I'll be conducting a full session to explain this in detail. We here at GUC will be focusing on softwares that come under FOSS. Now, Umang will be explaining DevOps to everyone.
Alright, thanks for the awesome presentation, Tanav. Now let's talk about DevOps and how we'll be practicing it in our projects. Instead of explaining how big companies use DevOps to run their operation, I'll explain how hobbyists and students learning software development and cloud computing can use it. For instance, in a big web development project, there's usually a product management team, front-end team, a back-end team, and an operation plus deployment team. Developers who are responsible for deployment of final build or the compiled product produced during a development cycle. So DevOps is an approach that bridges the gap between agile software development and operations while promoting a collaborative mindset between development teams and operations teams. DevOps mainly promotes three things: automation, metrics, and sharing. We can automate a great deal of operations within a project, such as scheduled builds, deployments, and testing pipelines. Besides these, we can implement monitoring and trigger-based system updates and rollouts. We will be exploring the following tools in the near future. These include GitHub Actions, feature differences between Netlify, Vercel, Surge, and Heroku, when and how to use K3s and K8s, automation and configuration deployment with Ansible. Additionally, we will experiment with CI services and build system for our backend projects. And now let me invite Shubham to discuss bash scripting.
Thanks, Tanav. Thanks, Umang. Evening, everyone. I am Shubham Vyas, one of the club secretaries, and I am going to discuss a brief overview of shell script and some of its using. Shell script. But before shell scripting, you need to understand what the shell is. So, what the shell is? Well, the shell is basically an interpreter. An interpreter is just a program that reads command from keyboard input and does what it says. You can either dump a script file into the shell or you have a prompt where you can type stuff such as ls, cd, pwd, and it will run those commands. Now, back to the shell script. A shell script is basically a file that contains the command you want to run. It's like a Python script where you put some Python command in a file and the interpreter executes those commands line by line. For shell script, you you can just put different shell command in a file and pass that file to shell, then shell will execute those commands one by one. It was about shell script. But why do you even need to know about shell script? You need this because you can just automate any terminal specific task with a simple shell script. And it's really cool. You don't need to perform unnecessary tasks again and again. You can just automate them with a simple shell script. Now, let me show you some examples so that you guys understand what I mean by automated tasks. I'm going to screen share. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Shubham, your screen is visible.
Now, you can see that this is the shell prompt, a green arrow and tilde sign. I can type here ls for listing all the directories and files present in my current directory, pwd for printing working directory, and also cd for changing directory. It's all about shell prompt. What I want to do now, I want to change my wallpaper. Let me open my web browser first. Now, as you can see, this web page has a really nice collection of wallpaper. Let's try this one. I can simply download it and 2.jpg should be fine. Here it is, 2.jpg. What I can type now? Wall, and boom, the wallpaper has changed. Let's try some another one. Every time I want to change my wallpaper, I have to visit this website and download the image and then go back to my terminal. Then I can change my wallpaper. But I don't want to do this redundant work again and again. So let's automate this whole process with a simple shell script. Instead of downloading this wallpaper one by one, we can download everything at once. Let me show you how. We just need to save this HTML page. Simply Control S, but I already have it. I can show you. Yeah, this is the HTML page that contains URL for all the images we need to download. Now I can run my script. I think somewhere here. Yeah, here it is, the script. And this script is using the HTML page I downloaded earlier. Just simply run. And it will take some time to download all the images. So it's downloaded all the images. Let's try some wallpaper. Yeah, I think this looks fine. And also, and it's around 169 wallpaper. So as you can imagine, it took me about 10 seconds to download one wallpaper at a time. Then it take around half hour to download all this wallpaper. That just means I just save my 30 minutes with this shell script. And that's how amazing it is. Now let's move on to the another cool shell script. But first of all, let me ask you a simple question. What will you do if you want to watch anime? Most likely, you will visit some creepy website which is completely loaded with proprietary JavaScript and which is going to show you a lot of ads. But you don't have to do it all just for one anime. we can use the shell script instead. Now, let me show you how you can watch anime like a child with this cool shell script called NECLI. And it's just 300 line of shell code. Mm, Here it is, NECLI. All you have to do is to run this script and it will ask you for the search query. Let me see, I think, yeah, we can watch AOT. All right. And also, this script is working perfectly fine from my side. If you are seeing any low FPS, low quality, or maybe lagging in my screen share, then most likely it is some kind of issue with MS Teams. And it's all our social handle. Uh, yeah, here it is. And I pasted the link in the chat box for all of this.
Well, guys, that's all from our side. Thank you so much for joining. Our socials links are in the chat box, so you can look at it. And the membership form is also in the chat box, or you can click the one on screen. And if you have any doubts, contact us on our socials anytime. Thank you.